Alright, let's talk chocolate. Not just any chocolate, American chocolate. Because here's the thing, walk into any gas station, grocery store, or gourmet shop across the United States and you're going to find dozens of brands all fighting for your dollar and your sweet tooth. But not all of them deserve it. Some of these brands have been quietly cutting corners for years, swapping real cocoa butter for vegetable oil, stuffing their ingredient lists with artificial flavors, corn syrup, and preservatives, and still charging you premium prices like nothing changed. Meanwhile, there are incredible American chocolate makers out there, from a stone-grinding factory in Somerville, Massachusetts, to a century-and-a-half-old family operation in California, who are doing things the right way. Real ingredients. Real flavor. Real impact. Today, we're breaking it all down. I've done the research, checked the ingredient labels, followed the industry news, and I'm going to give you the definitive list of 5 US chocolate brands you absolutely should buy, and 5 you should walk right past on the shelf. Whether you're a casual chocolate lover, someone who wants to buy ethically, or just a person who's tired of paying good money for waxy, artificial tasting candy, this video is for you. Let's get into it. 5 brands you should buy. 1. Guittard Chocolate Company, California. First on our absolutely buy this list is a name that serious bakers and pastry chefs have known for over 150 years, Guittard Chocolate Company. Here's the story. In 1868, yes, 1868, a French-trained chocolatier named Etienne Guittard sailed from France to San Francisco during the California Gold Rush. He didn't find gold in the Sierra Nevada, but he realized something even more valuable. The French chocolates he had brought along to trade for mining supplies were a massive hit with local shopkeepers. He went back to Paris, saved up enough money to buy proper equipment, and returned to San Francisco to open what would become one of the most respected chocolate companies in American history. Today, Guittard is still family-owned, and we're talking 5 generations deep. The company is headquartered in Burlingame, California, and it holds the title of the oldest continuously family-owned chocolate company in the United States. That continuity matters, because it means they've never been bought out by a multinational corporation that would start cutting costs and compromising on quality. They've stayed the course. So what makes the chocolate so good? Let's talk process. Guittard uses sun-dried cacao beans almost exclusively, a method that enhances the natural chocolate flavor and avoids the pitfalls of mechanical drying. Their quality control team tests every single shipment of raw materials before it enters the facility. And they use traditional conching techniques. Some of their formulas have been passed down through 5 generations to develop the complex flavor and smooth texture you can actually taste in the final bar. Their lineup is impressive. You've got everything from a 38% cacao milk chocolate called Soleil d'Or to a jaw-dropping 91% extra dark called Nocturne. And their collection Etienne baking chips? Those are non-GMO and fair trade certified, and they've won multiple Good Food Awards, including back-to-back wins in 2014 and 2015. On the ethics side, Guittard is Fair Trade USA certified and Rainforest Alliance certified. They work directly with cocoa-growing communities, training farmers, supporting women's empowerment programs, and fighting child labor throughout their supply chain. They're also a founding member of the World Cocoa Foundation. Price-wise, you're looking at roughly $5 to $8 for an eating bar, and their baking chocolate is widely available at Whole Foods, specialty grocery stores, and online. For the quality you're getting, that's an outstanding value. Bottom line, whether you're baking brownies or eating chocolate straight out of the wrapper, Guittard delivers. This is American chocolate done right. 2. Taza Chocolate, Massachusetts. Next up is a brand that is genuinely unlike anything else on the American market, Taza Chocolate, based in Somerville, Massachusetts. Here's where Taza comes from. In the early 2000s, a guy named Alex Whitmore was traveling through Oaxaca, Mexico, and had a life-changing bite of stone-ground chocolate made on traditional molinos, hand-carved granite millstones. He was so inspired that he apprenticed with a molinero in Oaxaca to learn the craft from the ground up. Then he came home and in 2005, he and his wife Kathleen launched Taza from Somerville, MA. What Taza makes is, technically speaking, stone-ground chocolate, and that means something very specific. Instead of over-refining the cacao into a super smooth, ultra-processed product, Taza uses those hand-carved millstones to grind the beans just enough. The result is chocolate with a bold, rustic, slightly gritty texture that lets the true flavor of the cacao shine loud and proud. If you've never tried it, think of it as the difference between a fresh ground artisan coffee and a can of supermarket instant coffee. Same basic ingredient, completely different experience. Their ingredient lists are almost shockingly short. Take their classic cinnamon disc, organic cacao beans, organic cane sugar, organic cinnamon. That's it. No emulsifiers, no fillers, no artificial anything. Now let's talk about how Taza sources its beans, because this is where things get really impressive. Taza pioneered the first third-party certified direct trade cacao sourcing program in the chocolate industry. They buy directly from farmers, no middlemen, no predatory brokers, and they publish an annual transparency report showing exactly what they paid, who they bought from, and what communities they're supporting. That level of accountability is almost unheard of in the chocolate world. Everything Taza makes is USDA organic, non-GMO verified, certified gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, and vegan. It's one of the most allergen-friendly premium chocolate lines on the market. The product lineup ranges from chocolate discs inspired by Mexican tradition, perfect for melting into hot chocolate or eating straight, to chocolate bars, baking products, and snacks. Flavors include cacao puro, guajillo chili, cinnamon, coffee, sea salt, and their absolute showstopper, an 85% super dark that somehow manages to be intensely chocolatey without being unpleasantly bitter. That bar alone is worth the price of admission. You can find Taza at Whole Foods, specialty food stores, and their own website at tazachocolate.com. A typical 2.7-ounce disc or bar runs about $5 to $7. If you want American chocolate that tells a real story, from the bean to the bar, Taza is the brand you've been looking for. 3. Endangered Species Chocolate, Indiana. Brand number 3 on our buy this list is one that's been around since 1993 and somehow keeps getting better, Endangered Species Chocolate, headquartered in Indianapolis, Indiana. The name tells you a lot about who this brand is. Since day one, Endangered Species Chocolate, or Escape, as their fans call them, has had a dual mission: make seriously good chocolate, and use the business as a vehicle for wildlife conservation. Every bar features a different endangered or threatened animal on the wrapper, and the company donates 10% of their annual net profits to conservation organizations. Over the years, that's added up to more than $1 million donated to their conservation partners. That is not a rounding error, that's a real commitment. But let's be clear, the mission wouldn't mean anything if the chocolate wasn't worth eating. And it is. Escape sources all of its cacao through Fairtrade America and the Cocoa Horizons program, ensuring farmers in West Africa receive fair prices and community development support. They were one of the first American chocolate brands to achieve a fully traceable cocoa supply chain. You can follow their beans from the specific co-ops in Côte d'Ivoire all the way to the bar in your hand. They even contributed over $1 million in Fairtrade premiums to cocoa cooperatives since 2015, helping fund schools and community infrastructure. On ingredients, Escape keeps it clean. No artificial sweeteners, no artificial additives, just responsibly sourced cacao, simple sweeteners, and real flavors. Their bars are certified gluten-free, fair trade, and non-GMO. Many flavors are also certified vegan and organic. In terms of flavor range, Escape has you covered whether you want an intense 88% extra dark bar or a more approachable milk chocolate with almonds and sea salt. That 88% cacao bar, by the way, is a standout. It's one of the most intense dark chocolates you'll find at a mainstream price point. Reviewers consistently call it a cut above in the high cacao category. You'll find Escape at Whole Foods, Kroger, Target, and Walmart, so this is a brand you can actually access, even if you don't live near a specialty grocery store. Prices typically run $3.50 to $5.00 per bar, making this one of the best value for quality and ethics deals on this entire list. Here's the bottom line: buy endangered species chocolate, and you're getting genuinely good chocolate made with real ingredients, supporting real farmers, and helping fund real conservation work. That's a lot of real for $5. For HU Chocolate, New York. Brand number 4 is one that has exploded in popularity over the past several years, and for very good reason. HU Chocolate, founded in New York City in 2012. HU, short for human, was born out of a desire to make snacks with absolutely nothing unnecessary in them. The founders started with a restaurant concept called Who Kitchen in Manhattan, which quickly became famous for its get back to human philosophy around food. From there, they launched a chocolate line that has since taken the natural food world by storm. The brand was acquired by Mondelez International in 2021, but even after the acquisition, HU has maintained its signature clean ingredient identity and quality standards, and that's worth noting, because it's not always the case when a big corporation buys a craft brand. What makes HU Chocolate special? Start with the ingredient list. A typical HU bar contains organic cacao, organic coconut sugar, and organic cocoa butter. That's it. No refined sugars. No dairy. No soy lecithin. No emulsifiers. No sugar alcohols. No stevia. No fillers. They call it paleo-friendly vegan chocolate, and they back it up with genuine transparency about what's inside every bar. The chocolate itself is smooth, rich, and complex. Because they use coconut sugar instead of refined cane sugar, there's a subtle caramel-like warmth to the sweetness that pairs beautifully with high-quality cacao. Their 70% dark chocolate bar is probably the best entry point. It's one of the most accessible dark chocolates on the market, with a smooth melt and just the right amount of bittersweet bite. Their flavor lineup is creative without being gimmicky: simple dark, hazelnut butter, almond butter, cashew butter plus vanilla bean, salty dark chocolate, and even a wild blueberry plus dark chocolate bar that is genuinely addictive. You'll find HU at Whole Foods, Target, and Amazon at around $4 to $6 per bar. That's a reasonable premium for a bar that delivers this level of ingredient purity and flavor quality. If you're someone who cares about what goes into your body, or you're buying chocolate for someone who does, HU is the answer. Clean, delicious, and honestly one of the most exciting American chocolate brands of the past decade. 5. The Skinnessy Chocolate, Missouri. And rounding out our you should definitely buy this list is one of the most extraordinary chocolate companies in America, Skinnessy Chocolate, out of Springfield, Missouri. Sean Skinnessy was a criminal defense attorney for 20 years. He handled murder cases. He was successful. And then, in his 40s, he walked away from it all because he'd fallen in love with chocolate, the real kind, the kind made from scratch with intention and integrity. In 2006, he founded Skinnessy Chocolate, and what he built is nothing short of remarkable. Skinnessy is a true bean-to-bar maker, which means they handle the entire process themselves, sourcing the cacao beans, fermenting and drying them, or working directly with farmers who do roasting, grinding, conching, and packaging every single bar. They source cacao from Tanzania, the Philippines, and Ecuador, and they maintain direct, face-to-face relationships with the farmers they buy from. Not a fair trade certification check in the mail, actual relationships, where Skinnessy has helped build schools in Tanzania and set up profit-sharing programs with farming communities. That last part bears repeating: profit-sharing with cocoa farmers. A percentage of Skinnessy's profits goes directly back to the farmers who grew the cacao. That is almost unheard of in the global chocolate industry. The chocolate itself is exceptional and different from what most Americans are used to. Because Skinnessy uses single-origin cacao and minimal processing, each bar tastes like a specific place. Their Tanzania dark chocolate has bright, fruity notes. Their Ecuador bar leans more earthy and full. Their Philippines bar has a nutty, warm quality. It's the chocolate equivalent of a single-origin espresso or a fine wine with terroir. Skinnessy also makes an incredible product called Sean Skinnessy's Chocolate Bars in the Harvest series, as well as hot cocoa mixes and cocoa nibs that are beloved by serious home cooks and pastry chefs. Pricing is on the higher end, typically $8 to $12 per bar, but when you understand what you're getting, it makes complete sense. You're paying for real cacao grown by farmers who are treated with dignity, processed by hand with tremendous skill, and turned into chocolate that tastes like nothing else in America. If you've ever wanted to understand what chocolate truly can be, a Skinnessy is the answer. Find them at a Skinnessy.com and at select specialty retailers. 5 brands you should avoid, or at least know the truth about. Alright. Now we get into the uncomfortable part of this video. And look, I want to be fair here. Some of these brands have serious heritage, or they're deeply tied to American culture. We have nostalgia for them. Some of them are the chocolate our grandparents gave us on holidays. I get that. But when you look at what's actually going on, the ingredient swaps, the lawsuits, the quality declines, the recalls, it's important to be honest. So here are 5 US chocolate brands you should either avoid or at least think twice about before buying. Avoid 1. The Hershey Company, Pennsylvania. Let's start with the biggest name in American chocolate, Hershey. And yes, I know this one is going to get some pushback. Hershey is as American as apple pie. Hershey, Pennsylvania, is literally a chocolate-themed town. There's a whole amusement park. The streetlights are shaped like kisses. But here's what's been happening with Hershey over the past few years, and as of 2026, this controversy is still very much alive. In early 2026, Brad Reese, the grandson of H.B. Reese, the man who invented Reese's peanut butter cups, went public with a viral accusation against the Hershey Company. He claimed that Hershey had quietly substituted vegetable oils for cocoa butter in certain Reese's products. When asked about it, he didn't mince words. He threw a bag of Reese's Valentine's Day chocolate peanut butter creme mini hearts in the trash, called them not edible, and wrote an open letter to Hershey's brand manager on LinkedIn that went massively viral. And here's the thing, consumers noticed too. Reports started flooding in of Hershey's Kisses crumbling instead of melting under heat. People complained about a waxy, artificial taste in formerly beloved products. A food science expert quoted by PBS NewsHour pointed out that when chocolate drops below 10% cocoa content, companies have been swapping in terms like chocolate candy and chocolatey, a subtle packaging change most consumers miss. This wasn't just Brad Reese. A 2022 Consumer Reports investigation had already found that several Hershey's and Reese's dark chocolate products contained elevated levels of lead and cadmium. And for years, Hershey has used PGPR, a polyglycerol polyresinoleate, an emulsifier made from castor beans, in place of some of the cocoa butter that traditionally gives real chocolate its smooth texture. Hershey insists PGPR isn't used as a cocoa butter substitute, but consumer feedback and independent taste tests tell a different story. To their credit, Hershey announced plans to phase out compound coatings, the non-cocoa butter chocolate alternatives, and transition those products back to real milk or dark chocolate by 2027. That's a positive development. But it's also a bit telling that the company had to announce this, meaning they acknowledge that those products existed and consumers noticed the difference. The iconic Hershey bar, the classic milk chocolate rectangle, is still made with real milk chocolate. But the wider Hershey portfolio has been through the ringer quality-wise, and for a brand that positions itself as America's chocolate, that's a problem. The bottom line, if you're buying classic Hershey's bars for nostalgia, that's your choice. But for genuine chocolate quality, you can do much better. And given the ongoing ingredients controversy, it's worth reading labels carefully before you buy. Avoid 2. Russell Stover, Kansas City. Next up, Russell Stover, America's iconic boxed chocolate brand, founded in Denver, Colorado in 1923 by Clara and Russell Stover. Here's the truth about Russell Stover, it is a deeply nostalgic brand. The red foil heart on Valentine's Day. The gold box at Easter. The assorted box under the Christmas tree. Generations of Americans have grown up giving and receiving Russell Stover chocolates. And there's real sentiment attached to that. But sentiment aside, the quality has been sliding, and consumers are noticing. Look at the ingredient labels on most Russell Stover products and you'll find a long list that includes corn syrup, artificial vanillin, soy lecithin, artificial colors like red 40, yellow 5, yellow 6, blue 1, caramel color, and various preservatives. The Environmental Working Group classifies Russell Stover's assorted chocolates as having high processing concerns, largely due to the number of artificial ingredients and the degree to which the original ingredients have been modified from their whole food sources. Longtime customers on review sites describe a very consistent pattern: the chocolate used to taste rich and distinct. Fillings used to have real, nuanced flavor. Today, many customers say every flavor tastes the same, overly sweet, with a waxy, thin chocolate coating and fillings that don't deliver on their names. Multiple reviews describe the chocolate as tasting cheap and having a texture like chewing on a candle. Others report reduced quantities in the box without corresponding price reductions. Compare that experience to what's in the box: corn syrup, artificial flavors, and a processing level that puts it in the same category as heavily engineered snack food. Now, to be fair, Russell Stover isn't pretending to be artisan chocolate. It's an accessible, affordable, mass-market product that's been part of American gift-giving for a century. And for consumers who just want something sweet and familiar, it fills that role. But if you're choosing between Russell Stover and almost any of the brands on our buy list, brands that cost a similar or only slightly higher amount, there's really no competition. You'll get better chocolate, better ingredients, and in most cases, more ethical sourcing. When it comes to gifting, especially, skip the red foil box and step up to Guittard or endangered species chocolate. The person you're giving it to will genuinely appreciate the difference. Avoid 3, Ghirardelli, San Francisco, acquired by Lindt. Number 3 on the avoid list is going to surprise some people, because Ghirardelli has one of the strongest reputations in American chocolate: Ghirardelli Chocolate Company. Here's a quick history. Ghirardelli was founded in San Francisco in 1852 and is recognized as America's longest continuously operating chocolate manufacturer. Ghirardelli Square in San Francisco is a tourist landmark. Their dark chocolate squares are everywhere. Their hot cocoa mix is used by airlines and hotels across the country. They are genuinely embedded in American chocolate culture. But here's what's happened. In 2014, Ghirardelli was acquired by Lindt & Sprüngli, the Swiss chocolate giant, and since then, some of the cracks have started to show. First, there was a significant class action lawsuit claiming that Ghirardelli's premium baking chips Classic White were not actually white chocolate at all, but imitation chocolate made with hydrogenated and palm oils instead of real cocoa butter. Plaintiffs argued that Ghirardelli deliberately used ambiguous labeling to trick consumers into thinking they were buying real white chocolate, trading on the brand's premium reputation. Importantly, this was the second time Ghirardelli faced this specific allegation. An earlier settlement had required label changes, but those were only enforced for 3 years before the company reverted to old habits. In 2022, Consumer Reports found elevated levels of lead and cadmium in several dark chocolate bars, including Ghirardelli products. 2 Ghirardelli bars were among the 5 labeled safer choices in that study, which is moderately reassuring, but the overall cloud of heavy metal contamination hanging over the dark chocolate industry has impacted how informed consumers view the brand. And most recently, in April 2026, Ghirardelli issued a voluntary recall of 13 powdered beverage mixes, including their hot cocoa products, due to potential salmonella contamination linked to a tainted milk powder from a third-party manufacturer. As of the filming of this video, no illnesses have been reported, and Ghirardelli says its own testing hasn't identified contaminated product. They acted out of caution following a supplier recall, which is the right thing to do. But it's still a recall, and it's worth knowing about if you've bought any Ghirardelli hot cocoa or drink mixes recently. Look, Ghirardelli's chocolate bars are still decent. Their 72% and 86% dark chocolate squares are genuinely well made. The brand does have a sustainability program for cocoa sourcing that dates back to 2008. But the lawsuits over deceptive labeling, the heavy metal concerns, and the 2026 recall paint a picture of a brand that's been coasting on its legacy reputation while cutting corners behind the scenes. If you love Ghirardelli's dark chocolate squares, you're probably fine. But for baking products, especially white chocolate chips, check the label carefully. And if you bought any of their powdered drink mixes recently, check the FDA recall list at FDA. Gov. Avoid 4, Parma Chocolate, Pennsylvania. Brand number 4 on our avoid list is one you've definitely seen without necessarily knowing the name: R.M. Parma Company, also known simply as Parma chocolate, based in Reading, Pennsylvania. Parma is one of the largest producers of seasonal and novelty chocolate in the United States, the company behind those mold Easter bunnies, Santa Clauses, Halloween pumpkins, and Valentine's Day hearts that flood store shelves every holiday. If you've ever picked up a giant foil-wrapped chocolate bunny at CVS for $3.99, there's a very good chance it was Parma. And here's the issue: Parma's products are almost universally described by anyone who pays attention to chocolate quality as compound chocolate or the chocolatey coating, not real chocolate. Compound chocolate substitutes vegetable oils or palm kernel oil for cocoa butter, which is why it doesn't need to be tempered the way real chocolate does. It's cheaper to produce, has a longer shelf life, and holds its shape better for novelty molding, but it tastes like a pale imitation of actual chocolate. The texture is waxy. The melt is flat and doesn't have that characteristic chocolate snap or smooth mouth feel. The flavor is thin and overly sweet, without any of the complexity you'd expect from real cacao. Now, you might ask, who's actually expecting great chocolate from an Easter bunny? That's fair. Parma isn't pretending to be artisan. Their business model is novelty gifting, cheap, fun, holiday-themed chocolate shapes for stocking stuffers and Easter baskets. But here's the thing: this product gets given to kids as an introduction to chocolate, and what they're learning to love is a highly processed, vegetable oil-based confection that barely qualifies as chocolate by FDA standards. And adults who eat a piece of a Parma novelty item often report an almost medicinal aftertaste, along with that distinctive waxy coating on the inside of the mouth. The verdict: if you need a fun holiday-themed chocolate novelty for a very young child who won't notice the difference, Parma serves its purpose at a rock-bottom price. But for anyone who actually cares what chocolate tastes like, or for gifting to anyone over the age of 6, skip Parma and pick up a bar of something that uses real cocoa butter. Avoid 5. Bratz chocolate. And rounding out our 5 brands to avoid is Bratz, the candy company behind those familiar bags of individually wrapped chocolate-covered caramels and assorted chocolate candies. Bratz has been around since 1904, and like a lot of brands on this list, it has serious nostalgic value. Their Star Bright's peppermint candies are legendary. Their candy corn is famous, at least. And their bags of chocolate-covered caramels have been impulse buys at grocery store checkout lanes for decades. But here's the thing about Bratz chocolate: it barely qualifies as chocolate. Their chocolate-covered products use palm kernel oil, partially hydrogenated vegetable oil, artificial flavors, and artificial colors as core components. The chocolate coating on many Bratz products is what the industry calls confectioner's coating, the same category as compound chocolate. Real cocoa butter? Largely absent. A meaningful percentage of actual cacao? Very low. Ingredient lists for Bratz chocolate items routinely run 20 to 30 ingredients long, including multiple forms of sugar, artificial flavor, artificial color, and emulsifiers. The Environmental Working Group flags Bratz chocolate products with high processing concerns and notes multiple ingredient categories that are of concern for health-conscious consumers. Flavor-wise, Bratz chocolate is almost universally described as candy-like rather than actually chocolatey, very sweet, with a flat, waxy finish and no real cacao depth or complexity. Compared to even mid-tier chocolate brands, Bratz falls far short. Now here's the context: Bratz is fundamentally a candy company, not a chocolate company. They make candy that has chocolate-flavored coating on it. And at their price point, a big bag for a couple of dollars, you know what you're getting. It's party candy. It's bulk trick-or-treat candy. It's something to put in the office break room bowl. But if you see a bag of Bratz chocolate-covered caramels and you're tempted to think you're getting a quality chocolate experience, you're not. You're getting a sugary confection with flavoring that approximates chocolate. Know what you're buying, and don't pay for it expecting anything more. Quick comparison recap. Alright, let's do a quick recap before we wrap up. The 5 brands you should buy. Guittard, over 150 years of family-owned excellence, fair trade, sun-dried beans, genuinely outstanding chocolate for bakers and eaters alike. Widely available, great value. Taza chocolate, stone ground, direct trade, organic, minimal ingredients, bold flavor unlike anything else in America. A truly unique product that supports farmers directly. Endangered species chocolate, clean ingredients, fair trade certified, 10% of profits to wildlife conservation, and widely available at major retailers for a reasonable price. HU Chocolate, the cleanest ingredient list in the premium chocolate space. Organic cacao, coconut sugar, nothing artificial. Perfect for health-conscious chocolate lovers. Skinnessy, the gold standard of American bean-to-bar chocolate. Direct relationships with farmers, profit sharing, single origin flavor profiles, and some of the most complex tasting chocolate made in the United States. Worth every dollar. The 5 brands you should avoid, or at least rethink. Hershey, ongoing controversy over compound coatings replacing real chocolate in certain products, history of PGPI use, heavy metal concerns in dark chocolate. Check labels carefully. Russell Stover, artificial vanillin, corn syrup, artificial colors, and widespread consumer complaints about declining quality. Nostalgia isn't a good enough reason to keep buying this. Ghirardelli, lawsuit over fake white chocolate chips using hydrogenated oils, cadmium concerns in dark chocolate, and a 2026 recall of powdered beverage mixes for potential salmonella. Legacy reputation doesn't match current reality across the full product line. Parma chocolate, seasonal novelty chocolate made from compound chocolate, vegetable oils instead of cocoa butter. Barely real chocolate by any meaningful standard. Bratz chocolate, confectioner's coating disguised as chocolate. High processing concerns, artificial everything, and a flavor profile that doesn't come close to actual cacao. Look, the American chocolate market is absolutely enormous. The US chocolate industry was valued at over $35 billion in 2024, and it's expected to grow to nearly $50 billion by 2033. That's a lot of chocolate. And with that much chocolate moving through the market, there's a huge amount of mediocrity, brands that coast on name recognition, cut corners on ingredients, and hope you don't notice. But you can notice. All it takes is reading a label, knowing what to look for, and being willing to spend a few extra dollars on brands that are doing things right. When you choose Guittard over a big-name commodity chocolate, you're choosing craft. When you choose Taza, you're choosing farmers who are treated fairly and paid fairly. When you choose endangered species chocolate, you're contributing to wildlife conservation. When you choose HU, you're saying no to artificial ingredients. And when you choose Skinnessy, you're supporting one of the most remarkable small businesses in American food. That's the power of what you put in your cart. So, which of these brands have you tried? Drop a comment below. I want to know which chocolate is in your pantry right now, and whether you're going to swap any of the void brands out after watching this video. If you found this helpful, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel grow and lets more chocolate lovers find videos like this one. And if you want more content about what's actually in your food, what's worth buying, and what you should skip, hit subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching. Now go eat some good chocolate. You've earned it.